learn oral histories, and engage in conversation about contemporary art that's being created here in the Dallas community. Antonio Lechuga is a multidisciplinary artist who was born in Dallas, Texas, where he currently lives and works. He attended Southern California Institute of Architecture in Los Angeles, California. Antonio's practice focuses on the intersection of storytelling, found material, and personal histories to create painterly compositions that emerge through an unlikely form of collage. His eclectic choice of materials and processes discuss his American experience as a Tejano living in constant battle with ancestry erasure. Using research and new technologies, Antonio begins to piece together new narratives of a future for Mexican American Tejana or X, while emphasizing and highlighting its rich, deep, and turbulent past. Please help me welcome Antonio Lechuga.
All right. Thank you all for being here. That was pretty great. I hope I can live up to everything that he was talking about. This is on, right? I guess we'll just start with the title of the talk. I mean, I decided to say, at least to name everything, getting comfortable. If you don't know my work, this is a great chance to know my work. And this is, at least for me, at least I hope to achieve, or at least my aim tonight is to be able to give you the opportunity to get comfortable with me and what I do and why I do it. I'll probably show some things in the back that we don't share too often. You know, I don't know who uses Instagram here, but I feel like everybody uses Instagram. There's a lot kind of close friends story stuff that I probably would show that I wouldn't show anyone else. So you guys get the good stuff tonight. Um, uh, Actually, yeah, I decided to choose this meme. It's a great actually introduction to the blankets themselves that I use. But I think they are they're things that to be able to be in a meme. Gosh, you have to reach a certain level of popularity in pop culture to be a meme. It takes time. It takes time, and you have to be good. And I'm not too big on The Simpsons themselves, but this is when you see this, you just know it. You just know what it feels like. And I actually wanted to share some more, if I could, to kind of break the ice with you all. Um, let's see. There's one there. We all know what that's like. This is also the room where you put all the jackets, right? You throw all the jackets in that same room, and the kid wakes up underneath all these jackets, thinking they died. And this is what it's like. That's what it's like. There's another here. I get sent these memes a lot during the winter time from friends, people I really don't know. They send memes like this because they relate to it and they think of me instamatically. That's not even a word, but I'm going to say it. But they think of me automatically, and I love that. I love that they can see these things and say, "Hey, that's." I'm going to send it to him because he knows what this is. There's another one, of course, a local Dallasite, Selena Gomez, dressed in this thing, this blanket. It really is pretty hilarious when you see it. And then there's this one too. This is a good one. This would actually be a great costume for anybody. I don't know if anybody's ever thought about it, but it would be a really smart costume. What are you? I'm a Mexican ghost. I mean, you're gonna win any prize or any sort of contest, hands down. Um, let's see. I just want to go back to this one though. I don't know if anybody knows who this is. I'm pretty sure you probably do. This is Homer J. Simpson. He's a doting husband, a loving father of three. But we can actually look at his face and we know what that is. We know what he's doing. He's lying down. He's sleeping. He's getting comfortable under this blanket, right? He feels safe. He feels comforted. He feels secure. It doesn't happen a lot of the time. Um, and just to kind of put an emphasis on this beautiful meme, I know what it is. We can feel it, right? We know how he feels to be under that blanket. It's just very beautiful. It's oddly poetic as far as memes go. I don't know. I think it just really hits in a really good meme, and I think that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. These things, that blanket that he has, these things that we have on our beds, these things that are in our houses, in our homes, they're in our very personal, intimate spaces. Uh, they're in places that are very vulnerable. Not a lot of people have access to our beds. This is where we cry, where we sleep, right? Where we die, where we put things that are important to us. And they hold so much physical and emotional weight for us. And that's what they do. They are utilitarian objects. That's their whole purpose in life, is to give us comfort, to give us care. And we do it and we like it and we want more of it, right? That means home. That means a life for us. Uh, More specifically, I use this kind of blanket. It's big, it's colorful, it's extremely soft, very, very durable. Uh, it has a lot of imagery as well. Colors are vivid and almost garish in a way. They're extensive. There's so many. Um, they also can be very beautiful. If this was a painting, it'd be a good painting. That horse would be gorgeous. I'd buy it. If I had the money, I'd buy it. Same thing with the panther. I mean, they can be very fanciful with their kind of designs, with how they choose to decide what is what and where is color. And we really don't know what's happening in these pictures, but we can really relate to it. Just understand it's just beautiful. There's I've been working with these for about maybe 6 years now. Um, there's about maybe four or five different, at least for me, I've decided that there's categories of imagery. One is a religious iconography, which you'll see on the left is the Virgin Mary. Just as well, you'll see the right. It's a picture of an animal. It's a bald eagle. But these things the things that we have again on our bed, and they offer something to us. They offer a type of comfort, a type of security. They offer something that we don't really get often from objects in the home. You don't think of it the same way you would think of as a spoon or a fork or a washing machine. Right? This tool is used differently. It gives love. It offers things to us that we're not able to give with other things. They become symbols or forms of care and generational care and love and things that we want in life. That's what they are. They become hugs. Very simple, right? Just like a hug. We offer them to each other. I buy these all the time, and when I do go to kind of these large warehouses and these places where they are, I see people buying them, and they're buying them for other people. They're buying them as gifts, as offerings. Just like you would buy food for someone and say it's on me because I want it to be on me. Um, they become things that we give to people because we love them. Just like this. Uh, this is apparently my studio assistant, but she doesn't. She works very loosely with the assistant part. Most of the time, she just sleeps on my blankets, and but that's what we do. We give, and we give, and they become. I mean, obviously, they are things. They're objects that we hold for each other, but they're symbols of love in a way. Um, this is kind of where I get there. We can pick these up, these blankets. We can pick them up anywhere. Most of the time, they're in flea markets. If you go deeper, you can go to um, warehouses and wholesalers, and it'll look like this, just rows and rows and rows of possibility, and it can be crazy and vast and almost a bit overwhelming. Um, but that's kind of where they are. And you can talk about maybe consumerism or capitalism, um, but this is a fence. It's supposed to say border wall, but that's a fence. You look at more images of that thing. As we go, it's supposed to be something that works. Right? It's supposed to keep things out, or yeah, technically here in America, it's supposed to keep things out. Unfortunately, and we'll see it. And the way fences work is that they go all the way from point A to point B, but at least along the border here in America, the southern border, they do not. It doesn't work as an architectural element, right? If I wanted to kind of go over this fence, I wouldn't hit that fence and try to climb over. I go to that fence and go all the way to where it stops and I go around, right? This thing doesn't work. And that's the beauty of it, I think. This too as well. It gets longer too, if it wants to. They decide that it can be long. It'll be long. It'll be really, really long as well. But unfortunately, long fences or long borders, etc., they don't work as an idea. They definitely don't work in practice. Uh, This here is a great example of that. This is the Great Wall of China. We've all seen very beautiful pictures of it in its current state, and that's all been rebuilt, by the way. This is a portion where it's in rubble, right? It's in tatters. It's barely even there. Same thing with Hadrian's Wall in England. They try to keep the marauders from coming from the north. This is something to where I can actually just hop over this thing. Right? So things they're meant for the now. They're not necessarily meant forever. Especially when we're talking about people and migration and what we decide is ours versus theirs. It's this. It's a great transition, to be quite honest. This is in Tijuana, Mexico. Um, this is on the other side. This is in Mexico, right? This is at least doing research and trying to understand what the wall is and what the wall should be. I happened upon this image, and I started to see people make it their own. It's not a wall anymore. It's not a border. It's a canvas, right? I can go up to this thing and I can express myself, and I can say that this is more than what it's trying to keep me out of, right? It's mine, and these are people that decorating this thing. They're deciding that it's not a barrier anymore, right? This is a place where I can express myself and decide that it doesn't matter to me. You know, I can go into this thing and I can put my imprint and I can say yes or no. Same thing when this is a very, very strong image. Just the, again, along that Tijuana line there. So the American flag upside down with crosses instead of stars. It's a very, very, very strong image, right? But you start to see these people putting things on the wall and deciding that, hey, I'm going to change it. You know, you may put it up, but it's going to be mine. And it's not too stark of a difference from something like this. This is the Berlin Wall in the late 80s. It's undated, the photo. But you start to see all that graffiti there. It's a great anecdote. There was a person in West Germany who had relatives in East Germany, and they would, every time for their birthday, they would go up to this wall and they would write a message on the wall for that person that they can never see, they can never experience, and it becomes this kind of this this action item for people. There's this way that they can express themselves, and actually does the opposite of what a wall should do, right? Because a wall's supposed to divide, and I wanted to create a response to everything that I saw on the border. Um, Everything that was kind of dividing things. It was cutting people, it was cutting environment. Oh. Uh-huh. Uh, it was a point where at least I felt that uh, I needed to say something, and that's where I get to kind of this next project, or this first project that I'm going to show you. Um, this is a program here that I actually use a lot. It's called Rhinoceros 3D. Um, it helps me make things. It was originally made to um, long time ago to build airplanes, and a lot of architects use it for sketching and making. And this is what I was taught to use. And when I want to make something, it's really big, and I don't know how to start. I'll start here. And this is kind of the imagery on the left there, the kind of left panel is me deciding to make this fence. Uh, and even more so here as well, I started to kind of craft what that looks like. Uh, I make a fence that I want people to see. And I start with this base. There's a layer there in the middle and a second layer after that. I start building it. Of course, this is all kind of theoretical. It's all on the computer. I start to kind of understand how it's going to happen, right? Let's just be real and say that this is going to make this work in this way. I get even deeper, and I find kind of units and things that I want to make sure this is how it happens, right? I want to decide that. From there, I'll actually go to making models and mock-ups. This is me in the studio, kind of slowly figuring this out and deciding how it's going to happen. And I think that that's where I start to get into the blankets themselves. I wanted to cover this fence. I wanted to give it a certain amount of care and comfort that it didn't have, that the border doesn't have. I wanted to offer something to it that that isn't there, and all these things are happening with it that push everybody away. And I wanted to bring people together. I wanted this fence, theoretical fence, to be something where people would go to. They would feel, they would touch it, right? They would break this thing down. And that's where I get to hear the studio shots I have that never share. This is me, of course, with that image on the right. This is an acetate that I get from the template, and I can put it on my blanket there, and I can cut out this thing, and I can cut it out, and I can see it on the right, and that's exactly how it's going to look. That pattern, right? And I'm going to take that pattern and I put it on this foam, right? And this is what you end up getting. This is the first one I ever did about 5 years ago. It's about 6 feet tall, 5 feet wide, small by standard sizes that I end up working with. Uh, but I really start to work with the material, right? It becomes this cover, this thing. When I was choosing or deciding to figure out what was the material that I wanted to work with, it was something that was regional to the south of Texas, north of Mexico. Something that was inherent to the people that are there, and this is something that I landed on, and it was something that I wanted to cover. I wanted to almost distract. I wanted to suffocate this fence with this blanket. Um, and kill it in a way. Um, I didn't end up killing it. I still make more. And I think it really just speaks to the material and kind of what I end up doing. because I can be able to decide compositionally where things are, how it should look, how it should work, and it becomes something like this. I get a little bigger, right? That's the next step. It's always the next step. You do it, you do it again, and it gets wider. It gets bigger as well. This is about 8 feet tall, 7 feet wide now, right? And I started to think about color in a different way. Like, hey, this could be something that works together. It could complement each other, right? I started to think about the back and the other spaces in between and how do they all work together color wise. I get even larger. This is 11, almost 11 feet tall, and still just as wide. And I'm at a point now where I'm like, you know what? It's ready. I want to go even bigger. The original kind of idea, unrealized idea, is that this thing would be outside, outdoors, however long, and near the border. And that's kind of where I continued. And I don't know if anyone knows Iris at the Latino Cultural Center, but that's where this idea, at least this spawned the show that I had there in 2023. Uh, there's more there. And that's where I get to this, right? This continuation of this idea, this big long thing that I ended up doing. And just like always, I go back into the computer and I decide like, how am I going to do this? What is it going to look like? How many of these pieces am I going to end up having to do? Oh my goodness, it's going to be a lot. And thankfully, I was able to kind of this be accepted as a proposal there, and working it out and deciding that I was going to do it. This is a 3D model I made of it, and again, all this is stuff before. Just trying to figure out how is this going to look. Um, what is it going to? How much is this going to take? A little bit further as well, even more in depth. Um, and then what I start to do when this starts to work, I start to take it into other programs. This is me in Illustrator, putting things around and working things out compositionally and deciding that this is yes or this is no, and and slowly building it and making it and making it and making it bigger and kind of changing things and editing a lot of editing. And then I'll go from this and then I'll take it back into this three-dimensional program. Like, you know what? I want to see it. I want to see how it feels. I want to see it in its space, and then from here, it's even a little bit more in depth, right? We can see it all there. This is the program itself. It's a great little picture. So you can see all the things that are happening there. After I feel like I'm done with something like this, is a big project. After I feel like I'm done, I start making. Uh, And then I'll start making, just like I always do. And this is kind of very raw images as well. This is just me in my studio. Nothing I've ever shared before, but these are all these kind of V's, right? These little kind of units that I end up making. Um, Things that I have to end up doing. This is all the back stuff, all the back end, the things that you never see. And it's just too much. They're everywhere. I did the math earlier today. There's about 500 of these little bees, just for this specific installation. Um, and I started building it, start putting it together piece by piece by piece by piece, slowly in my studio. Um, Thankfully, I have the space to do it. Um, After that, after I feel like I mean, obviously it's done, then I guess I have to wrap it. And I'm doing everything just like I would do it in the computer. Right? I build it slowly in the computer, and then I do it physically slowly in the exact same manner, exact same position and pattern. Um, and I'll do that. That's that cut, right? That's that pattern I saw earlier, and that's that pattern on the actual on the actual piece of foam. And from there, I'll build it out. Right? Me and my sister just slowly and surely building this thing. Um, slowly kind of figuring it out, changing things as I need to, if I need to. Uh, but I've worked all this stuff out in the computer, hopefully. Ideally, there's always things that happen when you're in the studio, and that you have to adapt, and you have to change. You have to kind of fix things to where it's supposed to be in the right place. Then I get to this show. This is at the Local Culture Center. This is Structures of Softness. This is the show itself, quite large. Um, and this is everything that I did in that space. This is that fence, right? I'm not going too fast for everybody. I'm gonna go a little faster as far as um, uh, my own life and things that I've gone through. I'm gonna pull up this picture here. I won't touch on this too long because this talk is kind of overarching. It's about a lot of different things. Um, but this is from Instagram. This is something that happened to me. I was shot um, by a gun, like real shooting. Not too not too far away from here, almost 4 years ago. This is something I took in 2023. Um, this is kind of where I laid there afterwards, after it happened. Um, this all happened. This happened about a month before this was supposed to happen. Um, if you're wondering, it didn't end up happening. I was in the hospital for about 3.5 months. Um, the other 3 months plus I was recovering. Um, I was trying to survive, right? Things happen in life, and you have to adjust, right? Stuff like this doesn't matter anymore. Um, you want to be able to survive, and that's what I was trying to do. So this entire show happened a whole year later, 2023, from when I was supposed to actually do it. Um, but I bring it back to this show because everything that actually happened, it was okay that it happened. I mean, it's life. What are we gonna do? We can't decide that it was wrong or we should go back or we should change it. That's not up to us. This actually is something that it's a great selection of images. There's three of them. These are things that were happening. If you look on the maybe the far right image there, you can see some of those pieces of the pattern. That's me cutting things out. And I would document in my studio because I never want to throw things away, but I want to know how much I have. So I would have all this stuff on my sewing table, and I start to see images. I start to see foregrounds, backgrounds, and colors and paintings. Just as I'm working, just as I'm working to build this, I start to see so much more in these things by themselves, just scraps that are on the ground sometimes. And I think this, or at least what happened to me at that point, this was the uh, catalyst for everything that happened after, as far as my artistic career and things that I've decided to do since then. Um, I started to make paintings. Um, I think that after this show was done, after the show was done, I had to start a new whole year of work. I had a new show coming up, and I was ready to talk about stuff that was that traumatic life event. It wasn't necessarily focused on that. I feel it was also about this new mode of making for me, and it was making paintings with these actual things. I wasn't covering anymore. I wasn't using these things as some sort of comfort anymore. I was deciding to use them as material to talk about things and to talk about stories, either my own or other stories that I ended up encountering as a the Gallery, Dallas, Texas, to be quite honest. And that's where you get all this. I mean, a lot of this stuff, all of this stuff was very new to me. I never knew how to sew before I started doing this. I looked up a video on YouTube, figured it out. Right, you put this thing here, you kind of do this, and like, okay, let's go. And this is where I started to make, and I started to kind of produce images and things like that. Uh, and then you get to this point where uh, uh, it can be a picture, it can be a painting, and that, of course, is this. Right? That's where that happened, and it all goes back to stuff like this. These little bitty things that happen in the studio. You're not even hoping that they would. You're not expecting them to. Um, they're not supposed to be a part of your practice, but they become it because you're open, you're listening, you're always looking, and that's the beautiful moments that maybe we don't talk about. Um, from there, from this, oh my goodness, I just kept going. Things just took off, and I'll get to things like this that happened the same year. Big, grand pictures, right? Things that I want to talk about. This as well. I can make pictures now. I can make paintings. I can paint with this material. And I can decide that I'm not limited by this thing anymore. I don't have to be. I can choose and I can move and I can make paintings. It just didn't make any sense to me. And I just kept going. And this was that show. This was here in Dallas 2 years ago. uh, And it's quite large as well. A lot of big pieces. But going back to the material itself, this is a couple of categories, right? This is uh, beaten, right? This is the beaten, the Virgin Mary. This is one of the categories. There's also these very machismo ideas of animals, right? There's never like a bunny under a tree. It's not how they do it. There's no. It's only a very strong animal. Just as well, you have kind of patterning, and then you have floral. It's very, very, very fast, very, very specific florals. Um, and they're quite gorgeous on their own. Um, and there's more of them, and then there's so many more that I found that there was a lot. And then I get to the point where this is in my hospital room, about 3 or 4 days after I was shot, and I couldn't see the picture, so I had my sister take a photo of it. I couldn't see them, and I couldn't help but think that that was for me. Whenever you see flowers in the hospital, it's not a good thing. People are offering it because they know it's a very sad moment, very serious moment. But it would always be for me. It would never be for the people that were there for me as well. People supporting me, either online or my own family who were there physically. Um, and I hated that. I hated that it was always me, and there weren't other people. That so many people were affected by what happened to me, or affected by any shootings in general, and I just couldn't let that go. So when I got out, I started to create actual uh, bouquets, these flowers for people. And I call them flowers for the living because they were flowers for other people who went through things and they still have to be here as opposed to the person who died from maybe this gunman, this gunshot, or this instance of violence, and they still have to be here and suffer. Uh, and that's what these flowers were. That's what this offering was. Something for everyone else who still has to deal with it. As I go a little farther, I started to dig a lot of kind of, at least on bigger works, bigger projects. I started to do a lot of research, and I ended up doing a little research. I don't know if you can see this here, but this is from violencearchive.org. They actually give a great detailed analysis on kind of gun violence in America, and they break it down with either age, mass shootings, deaths, etc. But I don't know if you can see it. Mass shootings there, it's from 2014 to 2022. It jumped tremendously. There was about 647 at the end. That was the same year I was shot. I started to see, or at least for me, at least before I was shot, Uvalde happened. Uvalde, Texas, there's a mass shooting at a school. And it was very, very heavy then. And of course, I get shot, and that's all I could see on the TV is either me or that thing. And that played in with these. I wanted to make a bigger blanket. I wanted to make a bigger offering to people of kind of this violence, mass shooting violence. And that's where I get to this point. This is a proposal I did um, as I was recovering at home. I was on my bed and I had my hospital table in front of me, and I had my big desktop hospital table. And this is me crafting this out. And again, I'm back in the computer, alive now more than before, and I'm deciding how this is going to look. And this year is something that thankfully I proposed to the Latino Cultural Center, and they accepted me. I was able to um, get funding from the city of Dallas and from the National Sculpture Center as well to be able to put this on. Uh, this was about 647 flowers, with each one representing a family of someone who died from gun violence. And they were supposed to offer comfort, just like the blankets, too. They were doing it in a very, very large way, a very big way. And that was my hope, is to give back and to at least come from a victim of gun violence and know that there is more after. I didn't know how I was going to do it. It's really, really big. Um, and this is kind of a diagram of that thing itself. Start with the blanket itself. I cut those pieces out. I attach them to others, and I make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And bigger. Slowly, of course. And from there, I actually start to do it in my studio. I cut these things out, put it on, get it going, right? And I put it in the computer. And I start to basically map it all out. Right? All those little flowers you see up there, all those little kind of dots of color, are all these, right, to scale, right? And I start to map it, make it a thing. Um, I even start to design maybe how this is going to happen. What is it going to look like? How is it going to work? And that's where kind of all the mathematics of architecture things they come in, and they help me out. Um, but then again, I start to get back to it. I said, okay, great. They accepted it. They're going to give me money. We're going to do this. And then we start doing it. I start making it slowly and surely start to kind of build. Start to cut and sew everything out and make it this thing. This is a great picture. I don't show this at all. I never show this actually. This is kind of a sketch of how it's going to actually attach on the left. That never happened. Didn't was not smart at all. But that's what being in the studio and being in your sketchbook is like. On the right is the worst curve you can actually ever try to make. I took a picture because it was impossible that we got to that point. Um, I had a team of a good friend who's a welder. I commissioned him out to help me make this frame for this piece, which you'll see here in a bit. This is it itself rolled. It's only half. It's about 2 feet. Uh, and this is it, maybe about 4 feet now as a whole. It's a big burrito. It's actually in my studio now, just kind of hanging out, kicking it. Um, but it gets really, really big. Um, and this is actually that frame that I just showed you earlier. It's the kind of bit on the ground. Um, this is that curve or one of those curves, the impossible curve. And again, this whole thing is lifted up. Um, and this is that whole thing. Right? Again, it's the frame only, right? I need something where it could rest. I wanted this to be in the middle of the exhibition space right here. I wanted you to be able to walk into it and be encompassed by it. And that's why it's in the middle. So that's why it's not on the walls or anything like that. Let's see. This is us building it. Um, if you want, if you're a solo show here, you can be here up until they kick you out. Just gonna be quite honest with you. Raul may have words with me, but it's true. You can be here until they kick you out. And we were. This is at nighttime. If you look at the windows there, we were brushing off probably about midnight there, but we had to make sure that this frame was right. Because this whole piece is going to end up being on that frame, just like it is there on the right image. And that's it right there. It's quite large. You roll it out and we start to stretch it. Put it on this thing in this space. And it ends up being. There we go. That's how long it is. It ends up being about maybe 96 feet, 92 to 96 feet long. That has to do with maybe how big the flowers are, but also, unfortunately, how many mashings there were. Uh, and that's how long it is. And we keep going a little bit further, and we get to this. This is it in its space. This is you in the space itself. Um, but it's a long way off from where it starts. Is that process? That was that took a lot of time for me. And I'll go into maybe things that happened after or before. There's a lot of the timeline actually kind of goes back and forth. This is a show that I had at Very Small Fires here in Dallas. It's a gallery. Unfortunately, it's no longer alive. This happened about a year, sorry, about a month before uh, this exhibition. Oh, good job. I was on it. And this is called Street Views. I actually started to make at that point. This from this is a big thing that I wanted to do. It was on my own. It was an installation, and it had nothing to do with maybe kind of me still wanting to paint. I still wanted to paint with this imagery, and that's where this comes in. Um, and I was doing this on the side. Again, this was showing about a month before for months after before that previous show. And these are all pictures of dresses, dresses that I would see off of Jefferson Boulevard and Oak Cliff at these all quinceanera shops that are all there. And I would be on the street and I would see them all. And they may or may not still be there. The shops. They're not things that they're always going to be around. And I wanted to at least take images of them and really give time and give space for those people who make them, but also at the same time for the craft that's there. It's hidden. It's behind these buildings. And I'm still just making pictures. That's all I really wanted to do. Just continue to paint, even after what happened or before that or whatever it was. Just wanted to continue to make really good images. I think the last thing, but one of the last things I'll probably touch on, uh, probably over, is an exhibition I had about a year ago at Ballroom Marfa in Marfa, Texas, in West Texas. If you haven't ever been, you should go to Marfa, Texas. It's definitely a place that's kind of breathes and sees with a certain amount of creativity and energy that you don't get, in big cities at times. You just don't. And it's definitely worth it. This is the gallery called Ballroom Marfa. This was done by a friend of mine, the artist, one of the artists who was there, Ozzy Wise. This is I'm going to share some installation images of that show. These are all different artists. This is Narciso Martinez, his work. See Yvette Yorga. This is Justin Pavela as well. It's a big space. It feels small, but actually sharing these images make it feel really, 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 really large. And this is my work as well, right? And I'm still able to kind of make these paintings, and I think that's where I am now with my work. Everything that I've talked about has happened maybe between um, the last 5 years, actually. Uh, and it's all been quite fast, and I've been able to keep up with it, I feel. Uh, I started. These are really big, by the way. I hope you don't. I don't know if you know, but they're about 7 feet tall. They don't feel that big, but they're big. And I think after this show, all I wanted to do was go small. I was like, I want to make, I want to see if I can make things small. And I started to. This is about 17 and a half by 13. Almost like an A5 size piece of paper. Um, and I can do it. I can do it small too. And I was really happy that I can do it really, really small. I was able to do it small again, 19 by 15 inches. Right? It's about here. And I'm still be able to kind of paint. I can paint. I can cut and I can stitch. I can cut and I can stitch. And I can do it all again and do it at this scale versus this scale. Um, I can get a little bit bigger, obviously. I'm always going to go big with things that I do. Um, and I can get even bigger than that as well. These are all reasons, uh, works that I had at Marfa in LA not too long ago. Um, and these are works that I had that are there in Austin as well, just recently. So I think that's my whole development. I didn't want to talk about too much tonight. There's a lot more in between that I didn't touch, and I'm happy I didn't, because I just wanted to give you this overview of what I do and why I do it. I wanted to be able to touch on some things that maybe you never see. I never share these install photos ever. They just sit on my phone. Um, but I think when we start to think about like our ideas, what we want to do, uh, there's a lot that happens in between that. There's a lot of processes and moments of thinking and being wrong and doing it over again that we have to kind of get to before we get to that finish line. Right? I could just share all those beautiful pictures of that show here, and you would know none of that. And I think that's really, really important as an artist to be able to share all the nitty gritty stuff that we got to go through. Um, when I was talking to Raul about what I would end up talking about, I think this is one of the things that I really wanted to focus on is things that happen in the background, right? The things that I have to be comfortable with, not just with doing, but with accepting, and then eventually showing to you all. Um, so I don't know if I think I've hit my time. I'm getting the evil smirk from Raul now. Uh, and I appreciate everybody for being here and listening. Um, I hope you've learned a little bit more about what I do and why I do it. Thank you. We don't. Oh,
All right. Thanks, Antonio. Thanks for that wonderful, insightful talk on your practice. I do want to open up the room for some questions if anybody has one. Um,
if you don't, that was there. There it is. I wasn't there.
Let me come around for the mic.
There you go. You got to be on the microphone. Yes. No, it's a thing now.
So when I was looking at this, I was looking at how you have used the blankets to incorporate your work. Have you run into a scenario where you've had a vision of the image that you wanted to work with, and you can't either it's not already pre-screened on the blanket, or you haven't been able to manipulate the pieces to fit that image?
Right.
How do you compensate for that?
Ooh. all the time.
Oh,
I run into that all the time. And I think that's where it becomes, where you have to end up being creative. Uh, you have to decide that maybe um, something, either it's the material itself or the image you want to create. Something has to change to be clear, so that you can maybe communicate what you're trying to say. I think I'm gonna pull it back a little bit. This one. Um, this went through a number of iterations before I got to this. But I mean, I think that's exactly what ended up happening. Is I had something in mind that I wanted to pull out, and it wasn't working, and I had to rework it, or I had to decide that, hey, this blanket is wrong. Even though I love this color, it's not gonna work with it. Just not. And I have to change and move and adapt, I guess. And it's just stuff that happens as an artist. You have to be able to be kind of flexible, and you have to be able to to be open to different possibilities. And it still ends up working well. I mean, you would never know that if I showed it to you. And I think that's very beautiful. Quietness that happens behind things.
quick follow up. So,
Yeah.
are you, based on the initial vision that you had when you had this and you said it ended up working out, are you more comfortable with this
Right.
piece versus the original color?
Right. No, for sure. I mean, I can't go back and say that something else is supposed to be the way it is, because this is what it ended up being. It's more of a, I feel like it's more of a philosophical question, really, because this is what happened, and this is what I decided on, and whatever was supposed to happen didn't happen. Right? It's almost like fate. Right? I have to accept it, and once I accept it, I'm all in. You know, this is better than anything I could have thought of. Right? Because this is just things that happen while I'm working. Things that get better on its own, and you kind of develop it, and you say, "Hey, this is good. I like it. I like it." And personally, this is better than the first thing that I actually thought of color wise. Way better. And that's just kind of what happens when you're grinding away. You know, I had a really good artist friend, a friend of ours, a mutual friend of me and Earl's. You know, and he talked about how I was still working and I was still making, and I told him, I was thinking, dude, it's not, you just think, you think of a thing and you make it. Elbow grease, grinding, just getting at it, going and going and going and going, being in the studio and just staying there and figuring things out. You know, it's never 1 + 1 = 2. No, it can be a one on Saturday, and the next Saturday is still that one. You know, you just have to keep going. You have to keep letting things work itself out on its own. It just has to.
Okay, last
Bring it.
question.
Wonderful. Last question for 200 right here in front.
At least at the end, I think. Yeah. But tell me a little bit about the frame. So you have the art, you have the blankets, and you
You
know
said the frame?
yes.
Okay, good.
So
The
how
one
did you
piece, right?
right? So and you were just talking about you have to work at it, work at it. So what was the challenge about putting the frame together to ensure that
Oh my God.
yeah.
Yeah, fun time. Let's see. So, you know, this frame itself, I definitely wanted it to be in the center of the space. I wanted it to live above the ground. I wanted you to be able to see someone's feet on the other side, because the way this piece worked is that you would be able to kind of go around the back, and all of that was permissible. Right, it was all open space. You can see the back. It's really quite beautiful. I don't have any images of it, but um, the frame itself was crucial, paramount to this thing working, and it being able to float above the space. Um, I designed it myself in the program, right? Originally, it was supposed to be this big, thick steel thing because I thought that this was going to be able to do it. However, you know, this is all built out of aluminum, still strong and sturdy, but extremely light. The big difference in percentage between this in aluminum versus this in steel. Wouldn't have worked because that's way too heavy, and we don't want to do that. I have to think about the considerations of the building itself too. That's something like how where am I gonna hang this thing from? You know, that's things that I had to kind of figure out on my own. Like kind of coming to space and measuring and deciding, saying, hey, this is wrong. I can't do this. I have to do something else. Um, but the frame, this is a great image on the right. It's just something they come in pieces, and I end up bolting those things together, and it ends up building slowly but surely. You can see it on the floor here on the right in pieces, and they kind of come together slowly. Even more so here on the left image. They're all in pieces, all together and ready to be kind of screwed together and then hung up. But there's these kind of rafters that we have there upstairs, or at least upstairs, I'm sorry, on the ceiling, and those are structural, right? And again, thankfully I went to architecture school, so I know that those are there for a reason. You know, they hold the roof up, and if I hang something from there, it's gonna be fine. And if I do it in enough spacing, that maybe let's see, where is it? Uh, with enough spacing for left image here, there's enough spacing between each kind of chord, each kind of piece of steel. I don't know if you can see. The good thing is, I'm really proud of is that you can't really see that it's hanging. You don't know how it's hanging. And that was, at least on the left, it was there. You can see a couple of those cords of steel coming down. I was really happy that you could see that. The little details, you can see them more so in the right image there. I didn't want you to. I didn't want them to be very, very, very kind of in front, in your face. They're there. They are. They're even there in maybe kind of this image. You can see them there on the far left. But those are important, obviously. So they're spaced accordingly, and they distribute all the weight of the blanket throughout the entirety of it. So um, I was really happy with the frame. If the frame didn't work, I told Raul maybe about 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. About this, me putting it up. The first time I put this up right there in the middle, all the way in the deep. That's where we started. We started in the middle and we kind of go out, right, like a piece of paper. And as soon as we put those up, and we start to staple this thing to the backing, the whole frame falls down. So, and you know, then that happens. That happens, and you figure it out, and we say, "Hey, what did we do wrong? What do we do now? How do we fix it?" Not only because it has to go up, but hey, today is Thursday and it opens on Sunday. So we have to figure this thing out, and you end up doing it, and you figure it out and make it better, and then you fix it, and it ends up being like this. So um, I love those little problems that kind of happen upon us, and trying to solve them, right? Because it ends up doing that. So it's exciting. Yeah. Sure.
All right. I think we have time for one more question.
Good. Wonderful.
Thanks again, Antonio.
Thank you. Thank you all.
One last comment. I think you give a whole new meaning to the term heavy blanket.